Hey there, Spooky Reads fans, and welcome to my living room tonight. Tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about Catholic horror. So, I didn't grow up Catholic, but I grew up in a town that had a lot of Catholic people, and I had a few Catholic relatives. There's a lot of threads that led to Dunaway Bryants, and some of them are Catholic. So, as a non-Catholic, I had some interesting ideas about what Catholicism was. Mostly, I had images from television. I knew about priests and nuns, lots of candles and pretty glass. And it's all long been associated in my mind with a kind of a cult. Maybe because, not a cult, but occult. because Maybe because of the more direct belief in demons and possession, and on the good side of that, saints. It's just different than any other religions that I'd been exposed to. And since I wasn't raised in any particular religion, my family I would describe as vague on religion, because depending on which thread of my family you follow, we've got it all. We've got different kinds of Christianity, we've got Judaism, we've got atheism. When we get to Samantha, we have a vague feeling that people should be nice to each other and recycle. So there you go. I belong to the church of be nice to people and recycle. But I had this fascination in my older childhood, like maybe around 1980, 1981, when I was like 10, 11 years old, with Catholicism. That probably came from television and movies and such. And at the time, I read some Catholic horror. So I read the Amityville Horror, which my mother had read and enjoyed letting me believe was real. I think by the time I was reading it, the idea that this had really happened had already kind of been debunked. But Mom let me read it thinking it was a true story, and then when we talked about it afterwards, it was great fun. And I read The Omen by David Seltzer, which I remember, remember I've told you before, I love those creepy little kids, and nobody's creepier than Damien. Much more recently, I read The Monk by Matthew Lewis, but that's a lot more recently. When I'm thinking about the ones I read when I was a kid, these are mostly things that were published in the 70s. And so the other one that came to mind was The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. So I don't remember if I saw the movie first or read the book first. But when I went back to look at the book, I still found it pretty chilling. There's a lot of, it's interesting because a lot of the book is kind of introspective. You remember the scenes with Reagan and the attempts to exorcise her demons, but a lot of the book is really about crisis of faith and about doubt and that kind of thing. So it's not necessarily those demonic scenes that make the book. However, the one I'm going to read to you tonight is one of those, because those are the ones that really got me when I was a kid. And the idea of priest in general is a little strange when you're growing up outside of the Catholic faith. So this is a scene, let's see, it's 56% into my Kindle edition of this book. And Karis is come to meet with Reagan. So Karis nodded, then looked quickly back to Reagan's bedroom door. The raging voice had been abruptly displaced by the long, strident lowing of some animal that might have been a steer. Something prodding at Karis's hand. He looked down at her. "That's her," Chris was saying. "That's Reagan." She was handing him a photograph, and he took it. Young girl, very pretty, sweet smile. "That was taken 4 months ago," Chris said. She took back the photo and motioned with her head at the bedroom door. "Now you go and take a look at her now." Chris leaned back against the wall beside Carl, and with her eyes cast down, her arms folded across her chest, she said hopelessly and quietly, "I'll wait here." "Who's in there with her?" Karis asked. Chris looked up at him, expressionless. "No one." The priest held her haunted gaze and then turned with a frown to the bedroom door, and as he grasped the doorknob, the sounds from within abruptly ceased. In the ticking silence, Karis hesitated, then slowly entered the room, almost flinching backward at the pungent stench of moldering excrement that hit his face and his nostrils like a palpable blast. Reining in his revulsion, He closed the door, and then his eyes locked stunned on the thing that was Reagan. On the creature that was lying on its back on the bed, head propped against a pillow, while eyes bulging wide in their hollow sockets shone with mad cunning and burning intelligence, with interest and with spite, as they fixed upon his. As they watched him intently, seething in a face shaped into a skeletal mask of unthinkable malevolence, Karras shifted his gaze to the tangled and thickly matted hair, to the wasted arms and legs and distended stomach jutting up so grotesquely, then back to the eyes. They were watching him, pinning him, shifting now to follow as he moved to a desk and chair near the large bay window. Karras fought to sound calm, even warm and friendly. "Hello, Reagan," he said. He picked up the chair and took it over by the bed. "I'm a friend of your mother's," he said, "and she tells me that you're very, very sick." Karras sat down. "Do you think you'd like to tell me what's wrong?" he asked. "I'd like to help you." Reagan's eyes gleamed fiercely, unblinking, as a yellowish saliva dribbled down from the corner of her mouth to her chin, to her lips stretched taut into a feral grin of bow-mouthed mockery. "Well, well, well," she gloated sardonically, and hairs prickled up on the back of Karras's neck at a voice that was deep and thick with menace and power. "So it's you. They sent you," she continued, as if pleased. "Well, we've nothing to fear from you at all." "Yes, that's right," Karras answered. "I'm your friend, and I'd like to help you." "You might loosen these straps, then," Reagan croaked. She had tugged up her wrists so that now Karras noticed they were bound with double sets of leather restraining straps. "Are the straps uncomfortable for you?" "Extremely. They're a nuisance, an infernal nuisance." The eyes glinted slyly with secret amusement. Karras saw the scratch marks on Reagan's face, the cuts on her lip where apparently she'd bitten them. "I'm afraid you might hurt yourself, Reagan," he told her. "I'm not Reagan," she rumbled, still with that taut and hideous grin that Karras now guessed was her permanent expression. How incongruous the braces on her teeth looked, he thought. "Oh, I see," he said, nodding. "Well, then, maybe we should introduce ourselves. I'm Damien Karras. Who are you?" "I'm the devil!" "Oh, good," Karras nodded approvingly. "Now we can talk." So, of course, things get worse. I'm sure you can't be a American or maybe a world citizen at this point and not have some idea what the storyline of The Exorcist is, especially after the famous movie that gave all of us an interesting relationship with pea soup. So, there you go. If you're interested in some 1970s Catholic horror, I think you can't do better than The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. So enjoy. Happy spooky reading.